This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
Very good morning. You're watching News 9. I'm Karthik Malhotra. On the show this morning, the big story that we're bringing for you: Apple faces a potential $38 billion fine for using its dominant position in the App Store. That's the big story that we are bringing for you this morning. Also on the show, the International Monetary Fund has revised India's this financial year growth projections to 6.6%. Now, this comes almost in line with RBI's 6.5% projection, but much lower than Indra's 7.3% growth estimate. And of course, also on the show yesterday, we saw a massive rally in the stock market. SENSEX beyond rallied well past 1,000 points, and Nifty 50 closed above the 26,200 odd levels. Gift Nifty indicates that the momentum is likely to continue today as well. Nishal Maheshwari will be here to tell us what to expect in coming days from the stock market. This is Morning Brief at 9. Watching Morning Brief at 9 right here on News 9 this Thursday morning. These are the headlines that we're tracking for you. The International Monetary Fund says India's GDP to grow 6.6% this year, but moderate to 6.2% next year. The estimate comes in line with RBI's 6.5% growth rate, but lower than India Ratings and Research's projection of 7.3%. The Union Cabinet okays rare earth magnet manufacturing scheme for an outlay of 7,280 crore rupees to push for self-reliance with soaring demand from EV makers, consumer electronics as well as renewable energy industry. iPhone maker Apple appeals against Competition Commission of India's potential $38 billion antitrust fine, says global turnover should not be a consideration for penalty. Tesla India General Manager SHARAD AGARWAL says Tesla users save as much as potentially 20 lakh rupees in 4 to 5 years. We explain why his logic may not entirely appeal. The stock market zoomed in trade on Wednesday. SENSEX closed nearly 1,000 points higher. Nifty 50 breached the 26,200 level yesterday. Will the momentum sustain today? We'll bring you an expert view as markets open at 9:15 a.m. And there's absolutely no relief for gold and silver buyers this wedding season as prices inch closer to record high levels yet again on soaring domestic demand. French engine maker Safran inaugurates MRO in Hyderabad. The CEO commits to engine tech transfer to India. And the much-awaited UK budget. UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves announces big budget decisions to fill the gaping hole in the country's tax deficit. And a fire engulfs Hong Kong's residential locality. 44 confirmed dead, with hundreds reported missing. A top story this morning: the Union Cabinet yesterday approved the scheme to promote manufacturing of sintered rare earth permanent magnets with a financial outlay of 7,280 crore rupees. Now, at present, India's demand for these rare earth magnets is met primarily through imports, where China controls a bulk of rare earth magnet exports. Now, this first of its kind initiative aims to establish as big as a 6,000 metric tons per annum capacity of integrated rare earth permanent magnets manufacturing in India, enhancing India's self-reliance and positioning India as a key player in the global permanent magnet market. Now, rare earth permanent magnets are one of the strongest types of permanent magnets, vital for electric vehicles, renewable energy, electronics, aerospace, as well as defense applications. Now, the scheme will support the creation of integrated manufacturing facilities involving conversion of rare earth oxides to metals, metals to alloys, and alloys to the finished rare earth permanent magnets. Now, with rapidly growing demand from electric vehicles, renewable energy and consumer electronics, India's consumption of these magnets is expected to double by the year 2030. The government says that with this initiative, India will establish its first ever integrated magnet manufacturing facilities, generating employment, strengthening self-reliance and advancing India's commitment to achieve net zero by 2070. As I told you, the total financial outlay of this scheme is 7,280 crore rupees, comprising a sales-link incentive of 6,450 crore rupees on these rare earth permanent magnet sales for 5 years and a capital subsidy of 750 crore rupees for setting up an aggregate of 6,000 million tons per annum of rare earth permanent magnets manufacturing facilities.
भारत की जो रिक्वायरमेंट है, जिस तरह से मेक इन इंडिया बहुत तेजी से आगे बढ़ रहा है, भारत की रिक्वायरमेंट लगातार बढ़ती जा रही है परमानेंट मैग्नेट की। और परमानेंट मैग्नेट को भारत में मैन्युफैक्चर करने के लिए आज एक रेयर अर्थ परमानेंट मैग्नेट्स स्कीम REPM स्कीम अप्रूव हुई है कैबिनेट में। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने अप्रूव किया इसको। इसमें फोकस रहेगा एंड टू एंड कंप्लीट इंटीग्रेटेड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सिस्टम बने, भारत में इंटीग्रेटेड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फैसिलिटी बने।
That was Minister Ashwini Vaishnav there talking about this grand scheme, 7,280 crore rupee outlay on the rare earth magnet scheme approved by the Union Cabinet yesterday. The Cabinet yesterday also approved the Pune Metro Rail Project Phase 2 from Khardi to Khadakwasla Line 4 and Null Stop Warje and Manikbog Line 4A. The project will be completed within 5 years at an estimated cost of under 10,000 crore rupees. The expansion of the Pune Metro Rail network with the addition of this Line 4 and Line 4A marks a major boost to the city's public transport infrastructure. The new corridors are expected to be completed within 5 years. Together, they will add a 31.6-kilometer elevated network featuring 28 stations that will connect Pune's IT hubs, commercial centers, educational institutions, and key residential pockets. The lines will also integrate seamlessly with existing and sanctioned metro corridors at Khardi Bypass and Null Stop on Line 2 and Swargate on Line 1, enhancing last-mile connectivity and easing traffic congestion across the city of Pune.
ये दो नए लाइंस का लाइन 4 एंड लाइन 4A, ये जो खड़कवासला ये वाला एरिया है और ये कंप्लीट जो कोथरूड और वर्जे और मानिकबाग और राजाराम ब्रिज और ये सारा जो कंप्लीटली हाईली डेंस पॉपुलेशन का एरिया है और अच्छा रैपिडली ग्रोइंग एरिया है, ये दोनों लाइंस इन एरियाज को कैटर करेगी। और इस प्रोजेक्ट से पुणे शहर की ग्रोथ अगले कई दशकों तक लगातार इससे सपोर्ट होती रहेगी। आज इसका एक्सपेंशन 4 और 4A, इससे लाइन 4 will be 25.5 kilometers with 22 stations and line 4A will be 6.1 kilometers with 6 stations. महाराष्ट्र मेट्रो रेल कॉर्पोरेशन इसको एग्जीक्यूट करेगा और टोटल इन्वेस्टमेंट इसमें पड़ेगा आज के प्रोजेक्ट में 9,858 crores.
And another news for India's macro economy. Well, India's economy is estimated to grow at 6.6% this financial year as per the latest estimates from the International Monetary Fund. IMF has revised its projection upwards on account of the GST reforms that are likely to help cushion the country from adverse impact of the 50% tariff imposed by the United States. IMF says, and I quote, India's economy has continued to perform well following the economic growth of 6.5% in fiscal year 2024-25. Real GDP expanded by 7.8% in the first quarter of financial year 25-26, unquote. The IMF also said that looking ahead, India's ambition to become an advanced economy can be supported by advancing comprehensive structural reforms that enable higher growth potential. Now, despite external headwinds, growth is expected to remain robust, supported by favorable domestic conditions. But for the next financial year, FY27, IMF expects growth to moderate slightly to 6.2%. The IMF, however, noted that there are significant near-term risks to the economic outlook. On the upside, the conclusion of the new trade agreements as well as faster implementation of structural reforms domestically could boost exports, private investment as well as employment in the country. But on the downside, further deepening of geo-economic fragmentation could lead to tighter financial conditions, higher input costs and lower trade FDI as well as economic growth. Now, unpredictable weather shocks could affect crop yields, adversely impacting rural consumption and reigniting inflationary pressures, as per the IMF. Headline inflation is projected to remain well contained, reflecting the one-off effect of the GST reform and continued benign food prices. IMF executive directors called for continued sound policies and noted that accelerated implementation of structural reforms will be critical to maintain stability and support India's ambition of becoming an advanced economy. IMF executive directors also welcomed the recent labour market reforms and encouraged the authorities to enhance human capital and female labour force participation, plus continue with the public investment push and strengthen the business environment in India. An American electric vehicle major Tesla aims to build charging infrastructure catering to the diverse requirements of customers across India. That's right. Having already established a presence in Delhi as well as Mumbai, the Elon Musk-driven company aims to build supercharging infrastructure and also offer home charging solutions to its customers, according to its India General Manager, SHARAD. Now, Tesla on Wednesday launched the first Tesla Center at Orchid Business Park in Gurugram. The center will provide all major services, including retail, after-sales service, delivery, as well as charging from one centralized location. AGARWAL noted that the company now has 3 superchargers functional in Delhi and Mumbai and is also activating one more in Gurugram. He said that improving air quality in cities like Delhi and Mumbai, which grapple with severe pollution, requires shifting to electric mobility. Remember, Tesla follows a direct-to-consumer sales model which differs from the traditional way vehicles are sold in the market. AGARWAL noted that the transition to emission-free mobility is required when air pollution takes a toll on people's health. The company, which has started deliveries of its Model Y in India, Tesla, will operate 4 charging stations across the country equipped with 16 superchargers and 10 destination chargers. Remember, Tesla opened its first experience center in Mumbai in the month of July, followed by a second experience center in Delhi at AeroCity in the month of August. Meanwhile, in a creative mathematical expression, Tesla GM also said that Indian consumers could recoup about 1/3 of Model Y's 60 lakh rupees price tag in fuel and maintenance savings over the next 4 to 5 years, as per, of course, SHARAD Agarwal, Tesla India's general manager. Now, Tesla entered India, as I told you, in the month of July and priced its Model Y about 3 times higher than what it sells at in the United States. That's right, Tesla Model Y is priced at about 60 lakh rupees in India versus the $24,000 or 22 lakh rupees in today's INR dollar exchange value that it sells in the US. And this is due to the high import taxes in India. Remember, India has 100% import tariff on cars, which Tesla chief Elon Musk has called among the steepest in the world. Now, Tesla, remember, did not avail of Indian government's lower tax policy measure on account of investing $500 million for manufacturing in India. Elon Musk also skipped his India visit at the time when the scheme was announced about 2 years ago. Now, with India being a price-sensitive market, the Elon Musk-led EV maker has sold only 140 units in India this year since his open bookings in the month of July. As per AGARWAL, Indian customers can save around 20 lakh rupees while buying a Model Y in terms of maintenance and savings against petrol costs over 4 to 5 years. He also says a high resale value will accrue to Tesla buyers. And staying with more stories around Tesla, well, Tesla's CEO Elon Musk has spent much of his year pushing robotics plans and securing his record-breaking $1 trillion pay package. But pressure is growing on Tesla's core car sales business. Sales are weakening across the company's three biggest markets, the US, China, as well as Europe. Take a look.
Tesla faces a sales crisis that seems to be intensifying. That's while CEO Elon Musk has pivoted focus to the carmaker's self-driving and humanoid pursuits and winning shareholder approval for his $1 trillion pay package. The EV maker has faced pressure in the world's three biggest car markets, Europe, China and the US. For Europe, it's particularly dark, with industry data showing sales plummeted 48.5% across the continent in October, compared to the same month last year. For the year, its sales are down about 30% in the region, while industry-wide EV sales jumped 26%. A wave of Chinese brands has entered Europe with intriguing designs and broader choice on types. And stats show rival BYD outsold Tesla in the region more than 2 to 1. The weak European results suggest there's no quick fix for the sales turmoil that began last year, which was sparked by Musk publicly praising far-right figures, setting off protests across the region. Musk's gone relatively quiet on politics, but Tesla's European business has not recovered, signalling more fundamental problems. More widely, Tesla's global vehicle deliveries are expected to decline 7% this year, figures showed, after a 1% drop in 2024. That's despite record Q3 deliveries, boosted by American buyers racing to beat the expiration of an EV tax credit at the end of September. Yet, as recently as 2023, Tesla's Model Y SUV was the world's top-selling car, gas or electric. Analysts say the EV maker's narrow lineup of models has grown stale and needs a new model to revive sales. But as Musk looks to robotics, there's little evidence of one in the pipeline. Tesla did not respond to requests for comment.
And from one big tech Magnificent Seven company to another, iPhone maker Apple is challenging India's new antitrust penalty law, under which the US company could potentially face a fine of up to $38 billion as per a court filing at the Delhi High Court, reported by news agency Reuters. Now, the challenge is the first against India's antitrust penalty law that since last year allows the Competition Commission of India to use global turnover when calculating the penalty it imposes on companies for abusing their market dominance. Now, since 2022, Tinder owner Match and Indian startups have been locked in an antitrust battle with Apple at the CCI, where investigators last year issued a report saying the US smartphone company has engaged in abusive conduct on the apps market of its iPhone operating system iOS. Apple denied all wrongdoing, and the CCI is yet to make a final decision in the case, including about any penalty. Now remember, the company is asking judges to declare as illegal the 2024 law that allowed the CCI to use global turnover, not just the turnover in India, when calculating penalties, according to its 545-page court filing, which is not yet public. Apple's maximum penalty exposure at the rate of 10% of its average global turnover derived from all of its services globally for 3 fiscal years to 2024 could be around $38 billion. The company has maintained that it is a small player compared to Google's Android, which is the dominant player in the Indian smartphone market. Apple's smartphone base has, however, become 4 times larger in the last 5 years, according to Counterpoint Research. The CCI found that last year, Apple was not permitting any third-party payment processor to provide services for its in-app purchases, where the fee could be as high as up to 30%. Apple's plea, remember, will be heard on December 3rd. Now, the support of the French government, global defense and aviation player Safran is committed to full transfer of engine technology to India for its fifth-generation fighter jets, its CEO Oliver Andrews said in Hyderabad yesterday. Now, India has kick-started the process to develop a fifth-generation stealth fighter jet. The government plans to build 5 prototypes of the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, or AMCA. Now, at the briefing in Hyderabad, Andrews said with the total support of the French government, Safran is committed to transfer entire tech transfer for the next fighter engine development in India. Andrews has, of course, been talking in India at Hyderabad at the inauguration of the MRO facilities for its LEAP engines, which cater to both the Airbus A320 as well as the Boeing 737 planes. Now, the groundbreaking ceremony for the dedicated MRO facility for the M88 engines that are used in Rafale fighter jets was also held on Wednesday. Both facilities will be based in Hyderabad. Safran further said it is committed to setting up a final assembly line in India for Rafale engines and critical components if the Indian Air Force places more orders for the fighter jets. Safran, which has been present in India for more than 70 years, provides engines and various critical components, including landing gear and electrical systems for Rafale fighter jets. With that, we will slip into a very short commercial break, but coming up on the other side, market expert Nishchal Maheshwari will be here to help us understand the mood of the market, especially after SENSEX saw that magnificent almost 1,000-point rally yesterday and Nifty 50 closed above the critical 26,200 levels. And in good news, markets have had a slightly green start even today. We'll bring you all that on the other side of the break. You're watching News 9.
What is speed? Do you ever see it? Or is it something you feel? Speed, it's relative. The more you speed up, the more the world slows down. And when you are fast enough, everything becomes still. That's when you see the world as it truly is. Servo Hypersport F5, when speed is your default.
आराम से हाँ। सामान देना भैया।
अब आगे क्या करना है? वो पिट्टू की पर्ची में देखो ना, कहाँ गई पर्ची?
नमस्ते
जी
हाँ? मुझे पता है वो पर्ची में क्या लिखा होता है। आप चलिए मेरे साथ। व्हीलचेयर, ये आपका और ये
हाँ।
आपका। पर्ची में शॉपिंग की बात तो जरूर लिखी होती है। थोड़ी पेट पूजा की बात कोई पर्ची में ना लिखे, ऐसा हो सकता है?
टिफिन
थैंक यू।
अरे पर्ची मिल गई।
पर्ची में तो ये सब लिखा ही नहीं था।
हम है ना आपकी पर्ची।
सिर्फ वर्ल्ड क्लास एयरपोर्ट्स नहीं चलाते हैं, आपके सफर में हम सफर बन जाते हैं। अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
ये बेस्ट है सर।
हमेशा वाला क्यों नहीं?
मिश्रा जी, आपके लिए फूलों की बरसात, बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस देने के लिए।
मतलब प्रोडक्ट वारंटी?
ये एक्स्ट्रा है। 1 साल में पेंट को कुछ भी हुआ तो पेंटिंग वापस करके देंगे।
वापस करके देंगे?
वो भी फ्री। पेंटिंग में पहली बार बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस। रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर।
Ever wondered what makes the night come alive? Where flavors, lights and laughter dance in harmony. When the sun sets, stories rise. Of kitchens, cocktails and charisma. What makes your city's night so happening? Let's find out.
Good service, good food and a good location. You need to explore, you need to experiment.
But they will never forget how they felt when they came to your restaurant.
Being a chef, it's my priority to deliver taste in a plate with good presentation unique innovation.
My definition of mixology would be to get people drunk in a safe and a happy way.
Don't drink on the job, that's for sure.
Mixology, you can play around with anything. You can create the stories, you can create the recipes.
Let's cheers on that note with our friendship.
Indulge in the finer things in life with Radico presents Lounge Nights. Discover the creme de la creme of India's culinary and nightlife scene. From trendy bars to exquisite restaurants, we've got you covered.
Light, camera, and action. Kick back, relax, grab your favorite snack because News 9 is here with your weekend dose of entertainment. It's time to take a deeper dive into the buzzworthy happenings of the entertainment world. From celebrity gossips to exclusive conversations, from nostalgic moments to News 9's pick of the week, don't worry, we've got you covered here. And I hope you've grabbed your popcorn by now because News 9's page 3 is here to serve you everything that we call entertainment. So do stay tuned every Saturday and Sunday, 2:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching News 9. This is Morning Brief at 9. And what a day it has been. In fact, yesterday after markets had rallied significantly, SENSEX had rallied more than 1,000 points in intraday trade yesterday, and Nifty 50 had closed above that psychological 26,200 level. But ladies and gentlemen, as things stand right now, Nifty 50 has breached its all-time high. Nifty 50, as we speak, as markets opened just a few minutes back, is right now trading at about 26,281 levels, about 5 points higher, 4 points higher than its previous lifetime high of just 26,277. So all those question marks looming over when Indian stock markets will reclaim the lost territory from September, late September 2024. Well, that day happens to be today, where the Nifty 50 has breached its lifetime high. We will, of course, have Nishal Maheshwari joining us shortly. But first up, let's look at the Nifty 50 heat map and try and see which are the sectors which are in the positive territory this morning. And it seems a bit of a mixed bag. No real trend line visible except for, of course, the banking and financial industry stocks. And this likely coming from the hopes of the RBI also expected to cut rates in its December monetary policy meet. We've also got a mixed signal coming, in fact, from the auto space with Mahindra and Mahindra and Bajaj Auto both in the green this morning, but Maruti Suzuki not performing as well, down about 0.2% or so. The IT sector seems a little reasonable last few days, and while more or less the Nifty 50 IT stocks are trading flat, there is some positive momentum coming from Infosys this morning. Nishal Maheshwari joins us now on the show. Mr. Maheshwari, thank you so much for your time, and quite a momentous day, isn't it? The Nifty 50 has finally breached that lifetime high, and expectations of that, of course, were running large ever since the first time Donald Trump announced the word tariffs.
Thank you for having me on the show. Congratulations to you and your viewers also, basically, that we have hit back after almost 14 months.
That's right.
We had achieved. And but I have to say this, basically, in the current year, all the emerging markets have performed really well. So India is just doing what is basically just a catch-up kind of a thing. It's not that India is running away ahead of others. And that's why it gives me a lot of comfort that this is there to last, and we will definitely see more higher highs from here onwards.
All right. So is this rally likely to last, like you're saying, Mr. Maheshwari, or is this the moment where we are going to see immediate profit taking, and do you expect the markets to at least today end a little lower, or at least have some sort of a volatility as investors look at taking some cash off the table?
So when you reach a level, basically after 14 months, obviously the jitteriness is there. Nobody is sure basically it's going to last or not. And that's why people who have been holding on, there is going to be a whole a group of people basically looking at booking profits or even getting out of the market. So I'm saying that's okay. That's par for course, basically. I don't see any reason to get worried about that. But given that it has come and within I think last 10 days, it has come and breached the previous high. This is the second time. So I think it gives me a lot of confidence that there is a lot more to go from here onwards.
All right. And what are some of the reasons that investors could potentially be nervous about? Because we know that the trade deal with the US has been hanging in the balance and there's been absolutely no confirmation yet on when and if that deal is going to come through. So in the advent of expectations that investors have of that trade deal with the US not coming through for, for another few weeks, if not months, is there going to be some more nervousness that you expect?
So I think more nervousness is basically about that you have come back to the same level after 14 months, whether this level is going to be held on or not. And the second thing is the amount of paper which we are seeing. There is record amount of paper which is getting distributed. And I think that is worrying the market basically because IPOs as well as promoters selling their stake, which is not a very good sign basically, especially the promoters selling their stake in the market. Yesterday, I think Bharti came and sold, I think, 0.5% or whatever.
That's right.
I mean, it's a large amount of money, basically, which is getting carried out of the market. So that's what I think is a worrying sign, basically, in this market.
All right. And what are you reading of the growth projections on India coming from bodies like the IMF as well as S&P, which are all continuing to be fairly bullish on India's GDP growth momentum, backed, of course, by the fundamental strength of the economy and its large consumer base, plus the GST reforms that we've seen. Is this the time that foreign investors are going to make a U-turn? We saw on Monday there was a sell-off, but then yesterday foreign investors were back on the table, I think putting in as much as about $100 million or so, $800 million or so. So do you think foreign investors are going to look at India's fundamental strength with a lot more confidence? And can we expect that FPI, FII money to keep coming in?
So we have to see whether this was one of basically because yesterday that Bharti deal happened, which was more than almost close to $1 billion. So there is a high chance that the FI is bought in because it is one of their favorite stock. So it may be a one-off kind of a thing. Basically, what we saw, we have not seen any signs of reversing very strongly by the FIs, and their worry still continues to remain basically about the high valuations.
Right.
And the amount of paper which is coming. So I think that is what worries them. And I think a definite U-turn will happen when India and US sign the deal and the last of the issues get sorted out. Because we are still, if you look at it, basically it's a very high tariff. 50% tariff is a very large tariff basically, and it is impacting industries. So I think once that gets sorted out, I think FIs will start looking at more positively towards India.
All right. You're talking about high valuations of the Indian market, sir. How does this compare, let's say, with the valuations that we are seeing for the big tech, for example, in the US? The big tech, especially companies like Nvidia, Google, Microsoft, etc., they're all soaring in high PEs as well. So wouldn't India offer that arbitrage to global investors?
So you can't say India basically because India as a market compared to the big tech, because that's a particular sector.
Okay.
And that continues to do very well, and it's a very long runway ahead of it. Secondly, all those companies are at the cutting edge of technology. Basically, they are the world leaders. So I think there will be spaces within India where you can do like this, but you can't compare India with a sector basically which is globally out there.
All right. And what about the cozying up of relationships between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping? Do you think geopolitically, not just geoeconomics, but geopolitically, China also has an equally good, if not a better advantage than India in the absence of a trade deal that India has with the US and, of course, the warmth that is on display between Xi Jinping and Donald Trump?
So I'm saying these are hits and misses basically. So I would only look at it saying that does China have a better tariff than India, which is not so. So I wouldn't really bother about a few phone calls or a few meetings till the tariffs get signed. So India has had its own share of calls and all. So I don't really worry about that part basically. I think once the deal gets signed and what is the final number, I think that only will decide whether China has an advantage over India or not.
All right, Mr. Maheshwari, let's leave it at that. Of course, that question mark always hangs on who has a bigger advantage. Would it be China? Would it be India? But a momentous day today, nonetheless, for the Nifty 50 to have breached that lifetime high. And thank you so much, Mr. Maheshwari, for joining us on this special occasion. And moving on now, but staying with the markets, the month of November has been quite an eventful month for the IPO market. Remember, gross stock price surged nearly 94%, while Lenskart had a 28 times oversubscription. Now, the coming month of December is also expected to see a launch of several big-ticket IPOs worth nearly 31,000 crore rupees as per some reports. Several major companies like ICICI Prudential, AMC, Meesho, CleanMax Enviro Energy and Milky Mist plan to bring their IPOs to the Indian markets next month. My colleague Amit Ranjan Kumar is here to tell us all about what to expect in the IPO market during the month of December. Amit, all yours.
Thank you, Karthik. Big month for IPOs. Like you said, 31 to 32,000 crores are likely to be raised this month. Some very big names. Let me start with the very biggest one, ICICI Prudential, one of the largest asset management companies in India. 10,000 crores is the issue size that is expected. Their SEBI approval is expected any time now. Let's move forward. The next name is Meesho. 6,500 crores is the issue size. They have received their SEBI approval. The issue is expected, the IPO is expected in the first week of December. CleanMax Energy, which provides industrial and commercial renewable energy, 5,200 crores is the IPO size. SEBI approval is likely any time. So mid-December is what we can expect. Fractal, issue size 5,000 crores. It's an AI advanced analytics company that provides AI solutions to corporations globally. Mid-December is when the issue's IPO is likely. They have received their SEBI approval. Milky Mist, the South Indian-based largest packaged paneer brand, 17% market share, 2,035 crores issue size. SEBI approval has been obtained. The issue is expected mid to third week of December. Hero FinCorp, the issue size is 3,668 crores. SEBI approval has been obtained. The issue is expected anytime in December. There are some smaller ones. Skyway Air Services, 600 crores. There is Aegis, Corona Remedies, 800 crores, and Aegis, which is another 720 crores. So these are the issues, IPOs that are expected in the month of December. But the big ones, of course, ICICI and Meesho to look forward to.
All right, Amit Ranjan Kumar, thank you so much for that update. Well, those are the IPOs which are expected to hit the Lal Street start December. And of course, a lot to grab for participants in the IPO boom. Well, we will slip into another short break. But before that, some of the global stories that we're tracking for you this morning. US President Donald Trump escalates his global diplomatic offensive, declares South Africa will not be invited to next year's G20 summit in Miami. A targeted attack near the White House critically wounds 2 US National Guard soldiers, intensifying debate over President Donald Trump's nationwide crime crackdown. Dominican Republic allows the United States to use an airbase and airport as part of its controversial operations against alleged drug traffickers that have killed more than 80 people so far. America's Federal Reserve data shows overall consumption weakening in the United States, even as high-end purchases hold steady, a worrying signal for the world's biggest economy. IMF reaches a preliminary deal with Ukraine that could unlock more than $8 billion in new financing as the country reels from more than 3 years of war with Russia. European Union industry chief hints at flexibility for the region's struggling auto sector, fueling hopes the bloc could soften a planned 2035 ban on combustion vehicle engines. British government unveils tax rising budget aimed to slash state debt as well as fund public services. Gets a huge thumbs up from financial markets. Brazil approves world's first single-dose dengue vaccine. Health officials hail a historic breakthrough as global cases surge amid rising temperatures. And firefighters battle remnants of a massive Hong Kong blaze tearing through a residential complex and killing at least 44 people so far, with hundreds still missing. These stories on the other side of the break. You're watching Morning Brief at 9.
यही मौका है बिजनेस को बढ़ाने का, पर पैसा अपनी सुपर पावर यूज करने का टाइम आ गया है।
अब टेंशन मत लीजिए, IIFL फाइनेंस से झटपट गोल्ड लोन लीजिए और बिजनेस आगे बढ़ाइए।
आपके जैसे सुपर हीरोज ऐसी छोटी मोटी प्रॉब्लम से थोड़ी ना रुकते हैं, इसीलिए लाइफ जब भी आगे बढ़ने का मौका दे तो अपनी सुपर पावर, अपना गोल्ड यूज करिए और IIFL फाइनेंस से गोल्ड लोन लीजिए। IIFL फाइनेंस करता है सीधी बात।
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
A resurgent India is racing towards the Viksit Bharat goal, braving global economic headwinds. Bulletproofing our economy from these uncertainties are Bharat's homegrown businesses. Powered by tech-led innovation, Indian entrepreneurs are truly scaling up, riding the next wave of disruption with AI and cloud to break into the big global league. TV9 Network in association with SAP presents Visionaries of Viksit Bharat, a series celebrating inspirational business leaders shaping tomorrow. Watch them take an iconic leap at Visionaries of Viksit Bharat conclaves. Exclusively on News 9.
Eastern India's first Business and Economy Literature Fest 2025 on 20th and 21st December at Taj Tal Kutir, Kolkata. EIILM Kolkata presents a Business and Economy Literature Fest 2025. Curation and ideation partner स्टोरी नेस्ट।
आराम से हाँ। सामान देना भैया।
अब आगे क्या करना है? वो बिट्टू की पर्ची में देखो ना, कहाँ गई पर्ची?
नमस्ते
जी।
हाँ? मुझे पता है वो पर्ची में क्या लिखा होता है। आप चलिए मेरे साथ। व्हील चेयर, ये आपका और ये आपका। पर्ची में शॉपिंग की बात तो जरूर लिखी होती है। थोड़ी पेट पूजा की बात कोई पर्ची में ना लिखे, ऐसा हो सकता है? टिफिन लाया।
थैंक यू।
अरे पर्ची मिल गई।
पर्ची में तो ये सब लिखा ही नहीं था।
हम है ना आपकी पर्ची।
सिर्फ वर्ल्ड क्लास एयरपोर्ट्स नहीं चलाते हैं, आपके सफर में हम सफर बन जाते हैं। अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. Let's tell you all the global stories that we are tracking for you this morning. Let's start with the G20 summit that just concluded in South Africa. And well, US President Donald Trump says South Africa will not be invited to next year's G20 summit scheduled to take place in Miami. The announcement marks a significant diplomatic escalation after the United States boycotted last week's G20 leaders meeting in Johannesburg. Now, Trump has repeatedly criticized South Africa's foreign policy direction, accusing the current government of undermining US interests globally. Now, his remarks come amid heightened tensions over climate commitments, global governance, language, and South Africa's stance on the war in Ukraine. The White House says the decision is linked to what it calls a breakthrough in protocol at the Johannesburg summit, where South African officials allegedly refused to hand over leadership responsibilities to a US representative during the closing ceremony. The United States is preparing to expand troop and aircraft deployments to combat drug trafficking, Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth said during a visit to the Dominican Republic on Wednesday. Now, speaking in the Dominican Republic, which has authorized the temporary deployment of US troops in one of its air bases, Hegseth said he was hoping other countries would accept US military presence on their soil. Remember, the US has ramped up operations in the Caribbean in recent months, including strikes against alleged drug trafficking vessels, which have killed dozens.
So I want to thank you, Mr. President, for supporting what is a temporary deployment of U.S. service members and aircraft conducting Operation Southern Spear. Small footprint, temporary, fully respecting your sovereignty and your laws and all the dynamics here in the Dominican Republic. It's a great partnership that we're, and truly a joint effort between our two countries against narco trafficking and narco terrorism. I think a model for the region, a model we hope to build upon with other countries that want to lock shields and arms with us.
And Russian President Vladimir Putin struck a cautiously optimistic tone on Wednesday, saying the United States now recognizes the complexity of negotiating a Ukraine peace deal. Now, speaking in Kyrgyzstan alongside Belarusian President, Putin stressed that talks remain difficult but continue to move forward.
I'll be happy to inform you about the direction of achieving acceptable and sought-after results for us in Ukraine by peaceful means.
I hope that everything will be all right, taking into account the recent events. I'll say publicly now what I told the Americans before. If they are delicate and understand that this is a complex matter that requires complex decisions.
I think they do understand this, but we'll talk about it in more detail now.
And European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has urged the 27-nation bloc to maintain presence on Moscow until what she called a just and lasting peace is reached in Ukraine. Addressing lawmakers in Strasbourg on Wednesday, the EU chief also acknowledged ongoing diplomatic efforts led by US President Donald Trump, saying any agreement must guarantee long-term security for both Ukraine as well as Europe.
A just and lasting peace, this is what we all want. And this is why Europe supports all efforts to build that peace for Ukraine. A peace that stops the killing, one that avoids setting a dangerous precedent, one that guarantees Ukraine's security and its sovereign rights in the long term, and that ensures a robust security architecture for Europe. This is why we welcome the efforts led by President Trump.
And Britain unveiled a tax-raising budget on Wednesday aimed at cutting public debt and stabilizing public services. Finance Minister Rachel Reeves said higher taxes will create an additional £22 billion in this fiscal space. Now, markets reacted positively and the British pound strengthened even as forecasts showed slower economic growth through 2029. Take a look.
British Finance Minister Rachel Reeves hiked taxes in her budget plan on Wednesday. Workers, people saving for a pension and investors will all pay more tax to help Reeves meet borrowing targets. The country's fiscal watchdog, the Office for Budget Responsibility or OBR, cut its forecasts for growth in the British economy over the coming years. But in a closely watched moment for markets, it said the government will now have more than double its previous headroom for meeting its fiscal targets, even as it raises spending on welfare. The headroom refers to the amount of extra spending or tax cuts possible for the government while staying within its budget rules. The OBR said it now stood at roughly £22 billion or $28.9 billion in 5 years' time. It had forecast roughly around $11 billion earlier this year, a historically low level. The result was in large part due to more than £26 billion or $34.4 billion of fresh tax rises. Finance Minister Rachel Reeves.
No doubt we will face opposition again, but I have yet to see a credible or a fairer alternative plan for working people.
A fall in borrowing costs suggested investors were largely comfortable with the budget plan. The OBR had mistakenly released the budget before Reeves had given her speech, which Reuters first reported. It revealed the key announcements from the budget on taxes, economic growth and individual policy changes. Reeves had promised to take fair and necessary choices to improve the country and to speed up economic growth, but she also recognised unhappiness among voters. Some key details in her plan include a longer freeze on the thresholds at which people start to pay income tax and a higher rate of income tax. The generosity of pension incentives was scaled back, with social security charges on salary sacrifice pension contributions raising around $6.5 billion. There will also be higher tax rates on dividends, property and savings income. The authority of Reeves and Prime Minister Keir Starmer has been questioned within the centre-left Labour Party. Reeves said in her first budget last year she was returning stability to public finances. That after the shocks delivered by Brexit, the pandemic and the mini-budget crisis of former Conservative Prime Minister Liz Truss.
Well, the European Parliament is calling for minimum age rules for children accessing social media after warning that excessive screen use is driving mental health problems among teenagers. The proposal would require tech platforms to enforce age verification tools across the 27-nation bloc. Take a look.
The European Parliament called on Wednesday for the European Union to set minimum ages for children to access social media to combat a rise in mental health problems from excessive exposure. Parliament's resolution calls for an EU-wide ban on access for children under 16 to online platforms, video sharing sites, and AI companions without parental consent, and an outright ban for those younger than 13. The call, which is not binding, comes as Australia is poised to institute the world's first social media ban for children younger than 16 on December 10th. Denmark and Malaysia are also planning bans. It's not quite clear how the EU ban would work, given it is up to individual EU members to impose age limits. Parisian Christian Lima, a father of 3, questioned the decision on Wednesday.
Je pense que interdire c'est peut-être un peu dur, un peu fort.
I think that banning it is perhaps a bit harsh, a bit extreme. We need to regulate it. We need to find ways and means perhaps to limit access, perhaps also to limit the time spent. We also need to work on parental responsibility because actually, we can decide a number of things at the highest levels, but above all, we should not absolve parents of their responsibilities regarding the protection of their own children.
The effects of social media on children's health and safety have become a growing global concern, with a number of companies facing lawsuits in the United States for their role in fueling a mental health crisis. Social media platforms including TikTok, Facebook, and Snapchat say people need to be at least 13 to sign up. Several EU countries have already put in place less strict rules like banning the use of mobile devices in classrooms and requiring parental consent to use social media. But child protection advocates say these controls are insufficient, and official data in several European countries show huge numbers of children under 13 have social media accounts.
Right, from Europe, let's pivot to China now. China's mobility tech giant Didi Global reported an 8.6% rise in third quarter revenue, driven largely by international growth, particularly in Latin America, where it offers both ride-hailing as well as food delivery services. Take a look.
Didi Global's revenue rose 8.6% in the third quarter. That's according to China's largest ride-hailing platform on Wednesday. Revenue hit $8.28 billion for the 3 months ended September, while net profit was also well up on a year ago at close to $212 million. The company has expanded internationally, particularly in Latin America, where it offers both ride-hailing and food delivery services, although its expansion outside of China weighed on profitability. Adjusted losses from the overseas segment rose significantly to around $243 million. Didi held its leading position in ride-hailing in China. That's despite growing competition from rivals like Alibaba and Meituan. Didi resumed expansion 2 years ago after a regulatory crackdown that began in 2021 when the company pursued a US IPO without Beijing's approval.
Now, from a major semiconductor deal to a tech rivalry heating up against NVIDIA and an AI-powered advice from the Vatican. Here's a look at this week's biggest stories in the world of artificial intelligence. We leave you with that.
Could Meta rival NVIDIA? And what the Pope thinks about artificial intelligence. This is AI Weekly. Meta Platforms is in talks with Google to spend billions of dollars on the company's chips for use in its data centers starting from 2027. That's according to the information. If confirmed, it could pitch Google as a serious rival to semiconductor giant Nvidia. The report said talks also involve Meta renting chips from Google Cloud as early as next year. US President Donald Trump signed an executive order to launch a government-wide effort to build an integrated AI platform. It's to harness federal scientific data sets to train next-generation technologies. The effort is called Genesis Mission. It aims to transform research and speed discoveries by using massive government scientific data sets. Trump directed the US Energy Department and US national laboratories to, quote, unite America's brightest minds and most powerful computers. The Kremlin says Russian President Vladimir Putin doesn't use AI tools himself, but officials who work for him do. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov added the Kremlin used AI tools to help sort through citizens' questions during Putin's annual question and answer event. Putin last week called for a national task force to coordinate Russia's work on homegrown generative AI models. He said they were vital to preserving Russian sovereignty. Alphabet is on track to hit a historic $4 trillion market valuation. It's been powered by an impressive year-long rally fueled by the Google parents' sharpened focus on AI tools. The firm joins an elite club of big tech companies racing to dominate the booming technology as AI continues to attract Wall Street this year. Leo, the first US Pope, discussed AI with 15,000 of the country's youth via a video call. It came during a live transmission from the Vatican to a National Catholic Youth Conference in Indiana. Leo told the young viewers AI is, quote, becoming one of the defining features of our time, but he cautioned it must be used responsibly.
In your education, make the most of this time. AI can process information quickly, but it cannot replace human intelligence. And don't ask it to do your homework for you. It cannot offer real wisdom. It misses a very important human element. AI will not judge between what is truly right and wrong.
That goat is long dead, but Cyrus Bhai are still alive. Game Cho. This is God's office calling. You're not a VIP, so God won't speak directly, but here's the deal. You have been granted a second chance with a brand new news show.
Thank you very much. Just one thing. You said two more lives. So I'll first be a newsman who wins awards, and second I'll be
cockroach.
Better make this show last. No hurry to, be a cockroach. Let's stay here for a little while. Don't want to be a cockroach. Apparently, they have lots of issues, like being stamped upon. This is the same thing as a newsman. I mean, they're not that different.